Medina, she's not pressing and you know. Obviously we want her to shoot a little. Bit more than what she's shooting, but she's not forcing things. Boom, stop what you're doing because this story is already shaking the entire college basketball world, South Carolina. Fans are stunned, rivals are buzzing. And social media is on fire after Dawn Staley finally broke her silence on the shocking suspension of Maddy McDaniel. And trust me, the real reason is not what most people were expecting. If you're watching this right now, do me on favor, make sure you smash that like button, drop a comment below with your thoughts and hit subscribe because we are about to break down everything the media didn't tell you, everything going on behind closed doors and how this situation absolutely exploded inside the Gamecocks program. Get ready, this is going to get intense. It didn't start with drama or shouting, it started with something much simpler, something Dawn Staley has repeated for years in interviews, press conferences, documentaries, and locker room speeches. At South Carolina, we do things a certain way. That standard is not just a slogan, it's the foundation of the program. And in the weeks leading up to McDaniel's suspension, Dawn felt that standard was slipping, not permanently, not dramatically, but just enough for a coach to step in before things grew into something bigger. Dawn later explained it clearly and calmly. When the media finally asked about the situation, she didn't hide from it, she didn't throw anyone under the bus, and she didn't make it personal. Instead, she said something simple: sometimes players need a reminder of what the expectations are. We have a culture here, we hold everyone to it. That was the explanation, not scandal, not punishment, not anything Fox Sports level explosive. The reason was the same reason Staley has used for years: protecting the foundation. In the days leading up to the suspension, practices had been intense. South Carolina was preparing for teams that wanted to beat them badly, teams that understood that taking down Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks is a season-defining win. The pressure was building, and inside the gym, players were fighting for minutes, roles, and presence. Maddy McDaniel was competing like she always does, hungry, aggressive, determined, but coaches noticed something creeping in: a shift in body language, a touch of frustration, a couple of late rotations on defense where her reaction showed irritation instead of composure. Not enough to call out a player in front of the team, but enough for Dawn to make a mental note, because to stay, effort is not the only requirement. You can play your heart out and still be out of alignment with the standard. The program demands 5 things every single day: effort, respect, professionalism, accountability, team first mentality. If one starts slipping even slightly, the coaching staff addresses it, because Staley knows that championships are not lost in March, they're lost in January, when discipline cracks and no one fixes it. During film one afternoon, the coaches reviewed missed rotations and blown coverages. Dawn stopped the footage and talked about communication and composure. Teammates listened, most nodded, but when the camera showed a mistake McDaniel made, her reaction was subtle: a shift in posture, a look of disappointment mixed with annoyance. Younger coach might have ignored it, but Staley is not a coach who lets attitude become a habit. She made a note. Another moment followed the next day. Nothing explosive, just a disagreement about defensive positioning, a small response under the breath, a second hesitation. Again minor, but Dawn has coached long enough to recognize the early warning signs. She believes that a player's body language speaks just as loudly as their play. She said it before: you represent yourself, your team, and this program every minute you're on that court. She believes that a player must be coachable, even on bad days, tired days, emotional days. And one thing Staley stresses is that if frustration begins coaching the player instead of the staff coaching the player, it's time to reset. That reset came during a high-intensity practice drill. The team was running late game defensive situations. McDaniel came step late on a help rotation. Staley blew the whistle, walked through the correction, and expected the drill to pick up stronger. Instead, she saw something tiny but meaningful: a look, a quick shake of the head, a reaction that Said I'm tired of hearing that. That was the moment, not because it was disrespectful, not because McDaniel was a problem, but because Staley recognized what young athletes often don't. If you let emotional reactions stack up, the standards start slipping. She ended practice, spoke privately with her staff, and decided that Daniel wouldn't play in the upcoming game, not to punish her but to send a signal. This is who we are, this is how we carry ourselves, we don't let frustration drive the car. Fans noticed instantly when McDaniel didn't dress. Social media exploded, comment sections filled with theories, many dramatic and completely disconnected from the truth. Inside the building, it was nothing like that. Staley sat down with Daniel. No anger, no shouting, no ego, and laid out the real reasons directly. You're a big part of what we're doing here, but we can't win if emotions get bigger than execution. We can't win if frustration becomes the coach. I needed to sit you down before it became something you couldn't recover from. Daniel listened, and the message wasn't you messed up, it was you're too good not to lock back in. Staley explained that she didn't suspend her because of ability. She suspended her because she expects players to show composure even under stress, take coaching even when it stings, hold themselves accountable before anyone else has to represent the jersey at all times. This wasn't discipline for the sake of punishment. It was intervention before the habit took hold, the kind of correction champions go through long before the spotlight ever sees it. McDaniel understood. The next few days she showed up differently. Teammates saw it. She listened more. She locked in defensively. She communicated loudly. Her posture changed. She carried herself with maturity, responsibility, and the energy of someone who realized she had been given not a punishment but an opportunity. And that's why when Dawn later spoke publicly, her message was simple, controlled, and consistent with everything she stands for. No drama, no accusations, just a professional explanation of a professional decision. We love Maddy. We want her to succeed, but sometimes you have to reinforce the standard. That was the reason, not scandal, not locker room warfare, simply the standard Staley built her legacy on. If you slip, we correct it. If you respond, you grow. And if you grow, the team gets strong. That's the culture, that's the expectation, and that is why the suspension happened. Now the story takes a crucial turn once McDaniel realized this wasn't punishment, it was a message. She faced a choice, sulk or grow. Dawn Staley had made her expectations clear: discipline, unity, pride, and accountability are non-negotiable. This wasn't about tearing McDaniel down, it was about shaping her into a player capable of handling SEC pressure, March Madness, and a national spotlight. After the suspension, McDaniel reportedly stepped back, reflected, and focused. Teammates described her as embarrassed, fired up, but determined to come back stronger. In the locker room, the message was loud and clear: this program isn't just highlights and hype, every detail matters. Missed rotations, poor body language, ignoring feedback, all have consequences. Seeing a star player bench sent a wake-up call: nobody is untouchable. Side the gym, fans debated relentlessly. Twitter threads exploded. YouTube comment sections were filled with speculation. Some said Staley was too hard, others said she was exactly the coach they expected. Staley allowed the conversation, her point being clear: the world will talk, the world will judge, but focus cannot waver. For McDaniel, this became a defining moment. She came early, stayed late, studied film, ran drills with intention, and followed Staley's exact expectations. Every detail was scrutinized, every possession mattered, and she answered with consistent performance. Staley watched closely, not because of frustration but because she believed in McDaniel's talent and leadership.